boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff Booner and Lukas. It is Wednesday, March 26th, and we are back on a Doc Wednesday. And I'm actually, hey, look at that. We got a little Crunch Time. Come on.
Oh, you said something. I thought you had like a Doc shirt on or something. I don't know what was happening.
Well, maybe we need to get merch with Doc on it. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to that. But he'll be on today. It is Wednesday, so you guys know what day it is.
Yeah.
Lots to get to. You know, America Park, you know, making some changes. People are pretty frustrated with it, understandably so. Lots to discuss today, fellas. How we doing? I was tuning into the Pacers-Lakers game. Need the Pacers to lose here. You know, need the Pacers to lose. And I don't want to watch Bron. You know what I mean? Watch Bron and
hey, congrats, man. Congrats. The LeBron stuff today was pretty exciting on Pat McAfee. I got to watch that. That was thrilling. Stephen A punching back at him. Like, it's just, you know what? When stuff like that happens, boys, I'll tell you what. Like, I just sit back in this beautiful throne I'm sitting in right now, as I call it. I love what we do. Like, it's just like LeBron and Stephen A going back and forth. Like, that's a dream, dude. Like, we actually, like, we're sitting here. Why? It's unbelievable. It's so good. By the way, too, I just want to address the elephant in the room. I tried to trim up a little bit, and I shaved my face off. Right before the show. I got back from what I was doing today, and I'm like, I want to trim. I need to get a little trim. Like, this is bad. I look like Jeff. I need to figure this thing out. No offense, Jeff.
I was gonna say, why did I catch it stray? What happened?
I don't know, but I took it all off, and I didn't mean to. I left a little here as always, but I didn't realize it was going this short, and it went this short.
Well, I like how you said, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, and I bet you no one was thinking about that. So I think you just brought attention.
Yeah, but I didn't even
okay.
You just brought attention to it now. Oh,
it felt like an elephant in my mind. I'm looking at myself on the screen here, and I'm going,
no one was.
Booner, what have you done to yourself? I guess honestly, I think it looks better than the beard that the boys were trying to convince me to grow. People thought I was trying to grow the beard. It was these guys that kept going, oh no, Boone, like, this is good.
Yeah, let it.
I don't know if it was as good as people were, but I think I was just getting pumped up.
It's okay.
Good friends, though, you know.
It's all right. You know what? You look good. You feel good. You feel good. You play good. You know what I mean?
You play good, they pay good.
You play good, they
ain't gonna be paying that top 3 money, though. I'll tell you that much. They're not paying top 3 money, Hefe. Shedeur.
No, I mean, we're going back to Shedeur again, back to back.
You see what he does. Coach Prime saying,
you see what he does, man.
Yeah, I see what's
happening. 6 minutes. Klotzy's already trying to throw. This guy, man. I can't wait. The draft's in about a month. Plenty more to get to. I mean, like
imagine though Shedeur turns into like Klotz's CJ Stroud. That's something, huh?
What do you mean?
I mean, I didn't say it. I'm just. Someone told me to say, "Hey, boo, just think about this." I just thought that wasn't my.
Yeah, you're just the messenger.
Yeah, that wasn't my brain.
Think that'll be good or that'll be bad?
I mean, for you, it's bad because that means Shedeur's doing really well, and you're the one saying.
No, like I'm saying, you think Shedeur is going to be like CJ Stroud? You're saying, or I'm not.
Like,
no, I think so.
Quarterback you hate.
To your part, you keep saying like Shedeur's not at that level. He cannot lead a team to the playoffs. He'll never win in his career. And like,
I never said that.
You said he's going to be an average player in his career.
I said he would. This is exactly what I said yesterday. I said he will be Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Cincinnati.
Geno was a bench player for 15 years.
Okay, we're obviously talking about
right now, Geno. You're talking about right now.
Shedeur Sanders is a complete bum. Will never win a game in his life. Will never throw a touchdown. Yes,
flip it.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Hey, Boone. We got him.
If this feels like the CJ Stroud of the class for Klotz. That's all it feels like it. I'm not saying
me and you are on the same side with this.
I think Shedeur will be fine.
We went hand in hand down this path the whole time, and now you're Shedeur.
No. This is the thing. I think Shedeur's going to win a playoff game in his career. I think he's going to have a chance. I don't think it's right away. My argument has always been with Shedeur Sanders. He needs to maybe wait a year behind a vet. That's all. Like, I think, hey, Bring a guy in to teach him. He might take over halfway through the year and just be an absolute dog. I don't know. Never mind. Let's just move on. Sorry. I'm getting on I'm getting on these NFL tangents in my mind right now.
Yeah, like that's how you know there's it's electric. The chemistry is electric because 7 minutes in, we're already on something that it wasn't even.
We don't have it on the prep. Klotz said something about. It was the feel good play.
He was dropping the Coach Prime bar about money.
Yeah,
I said Shedeur ain't going top 3, not that type of money.
Yeah,
and then I was told that I said that Shedeur Sanders will never win a playoff game. He's gonna be slots. Which I didn't know. I said, but I guess I did.
Shedeur Sports with Jeff Booner and Lucas.
Yeah. Hey, well.
Klotz can't keep his name out of his mouth, huh? I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how this battle ages, Klotzy. But hey, I do want to get at least to some things that are transpiring. I have a clip I do want to play, and maybe this is good for Klotzy. It's
here we go.
To me, you sent it to me, right, Boone? So I can put it up here.
Oh, you know what? I'm sending it now. How does this world work, man? Sometimes
you know what?
we get dialed
Sam LaPorta talking about John Morton, Johnny Mo show. Because we're ranking tomorrow top 5 off seasons, which I'm very excited for. I think because I already have some things, I have some tricks up my sleeves, and I think it's going to be a good discussion. But in the future, we're going to rank top 5 offenses going into this year.
I can't wait for that.
I want to see the narrative I want to see where Klotzy. It's going to be a good one. I want to see
where he puts the Lions. The reason I thought of this, of the top 5 offenses, hopefully it's next Thursday, is we had the conversation Monday or Tuesday about can the Lions, or no, I posted on Twitter, can the Lions be a top 5 offense? And
what would the people say? What were they saying?
A lot of people, majority, I would have to say 80% of the people in the comments say yes. Like they're not going to be the one. Like obviously they were the one, and they were the number one, like one of the best of all time. Obviously they're going to take a step back, but they're not going to take a step back outside the top 5. Like that's a drastic step back. So majority of people say, yeah, even with John Morton, with the players. Yeah, by the way, this video is sending. I don't know what's happening over here on my end.
It's okay.
We'll get through it though.
But we'll get to it. And today we'll talk more Lions offseason because, I saw on Twitter too, and that Benjamin, I don't know his
Solik.
ESPN. Yeah, works for ESPN. He put out how he thinks the Lions had one of the best off seasons so far. Pretty dang good off season. So we'll talk about what we think of the off season, and not specifically rankings. We'll get to that tomorrow, but just what do we think of the off season, what they've done. And I have my own kind of spin on it that I do want to get to because I haven't fully said it yet, but it'll be a good conversation. And then of course the doc at 9:00. But first I do want to play this. Okay. Kay Adams had Sam LaPorta, Sammy LaPorta,
Sammy P, Sammy L.
They talked different things. It was good. I mean, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Because I think that's the photo we showed with Hutch. That was the same day? Same
event. It's the NFLPA. They're doing an event. They're actually from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight. They just had they were that last night. They were live on the Golf Channel, I think, and then tonight the Golf Channel from 6 to 8 p.m. So it's over. It was like an event where they were playing and an actual tournament with NFL players.
Well, here's LaPorta talking to Kay about Johnny Morton and more.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your Lions. A lot of changes. Give me what I need to know about your new OC.
I've sat down with Johnny Mo for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, gotten to know him personally. But as a coach, it's yet to be determined. We have a great future in front of us. We're excited to work with each other and can't wait to get working with him here in OTAs.
What kind of a guy is he?
Great guy. Good personality. He seems fiery, which is always exciting, and extremely competitive.
I don't want you to like Ben either, by the way. Twice a year at least.
Of course.
What's it going to be like to see Ben out there?
Yeah, of course, happy for Ben. He was one of the big reasons that they brought me into the Lions, and nothing but respect for him. But again, on Sunday afternoons this fall, there will be friends turn to enemies, I guess, like I stated before.
That's such a good headline for me. Sam LaPorta says, friends turn to enemies in regards to Ben Johnson. I promise I won't do that to you.
Okay.
I promise. What was it like saying bye to him? That sucks.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he was one of the, obviously, you were his guy.
Right. It hurts, of
Yeah.
course. You spend a lot of time with these people, invest a lot of energy and effort and hard work together, and it's mutual. You're excited that he's going to go run his own team and organization and have a lot on his plate. So just very exciting times for him, and it's exciting times for us too as we turn towards our new staff and have a bright future together.
Okay, so, and by the way, I cannot wait to cover those games. I cannot wait to cover.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be. I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But Johnny Mo,
Johnny Mo show.
See it. There's no. I mean, Sam. And I mean, what is he gonna say? I mean, he's not gonna say like, we're gonna be an elite. Like he's doing it right. It's like, well, we got to go see. We got to go out there and show it. Prove it that we can be elite again. But Sam, what was that? Was John Morton? No, I think that might have been
the year he left. I think the year he left, they drafted Sam. With my guess, I think.
Yeah, so that was a year before Sam LaPorta. So he doesn't even know. I mean, all he knows is Ben, which he's been around Ben. So, of course, it's going to be a little, he's probably not the right guy to probably ask about. Jared's probably better. He's been around him, but Sam's just like, hey, as long as I'm getting we're winning and I'm sprinkling some production. Hey, he doesn't probably really care, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
I think Sam's sitting there. He's already sat down with him. I think he sat down with all the weapons, and I think this thing's coming together, boys. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Klotzy. I bet you John Morton's already sat in a room with Jared Goff like Ben Johnson did 2 years ago with John Morton in 2022. They all sat in a room together. I bet you John Morton did it with why am I drawing the blank on the name? Pass game coordinator now.
David Shaw.
David Shaw. I bet you they all sat in a room together, those three, and Dan Campbell, four of them. They ordered a bunch of pizza, some wings, maybe some Starbucks, and they sat there for 12 hours, and they went 3 straight days, and they said, this is our offense going forward. And then they called up Sam LaPorta, J-Mo, Amon-Ra, all those boys said, hey, fly in for a couple days. We need to meet. We need to sit in a room. And I'm sure they all sat in a room together and they said, this is what we're doing. And I bet you they are absolutely stoked. And I'm with Sam, and it's like Sam's kind of the same side where it's like, hey, this is really exciting. It's not going to be as bad as people think, but we still have to see it and come into it. And we still have to act like, hey, this is something new, and we have to head on, focused and head on. I love that out of Sam LaPorta. The man looks focused. I'll tell you what. He looks like he's ready. That's a Super Bowl tight end.
Sam LaPorta was dealing with injuries last year. You can tell towards the end of the season he started to get healthier. But Sam LaPorta, I think, just to himself, to the team, to the fans, just to everybody, he has a lot to prove in year 3. I think year 3 is a year where we saw Brock Bowers last year kind of take his spot as like that next tight end. And when you look at Travis Kelce on his way out, George Kittle on his way out, Sam LaPorta's on that next wave of the best tight ends. Him, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. I'm sure there's a couple of other names you can throw out there. But I think he's going to be a big part of it. I talked about it the other day. Like John Morton's, he's an old school guy. What do old school offenses love? Old school offensive minds. They love tight ends. They love running the ball, play action game, setting up to tight ends. So Sam LaPorta is going to be a really key factor of this offense. I think he's going to have a good role. I think, again, that this offense will take a step back. Doesn't have to be significant, but going for Ben Johnson and John Morton, if you say, oh, they're right where they're going to be last year as far as efficiency and all that, your opinion, we can agree to disagree, but I do think this offense is going to be good, and Sam LaPorta is going to be a big focal part of it. Going to be.
And by the way, too, I don't think there's anyone out there saying that they're going to be at the same level. Like if you're saying that, it's like ridiculous because they were top 5 all time, efficiency wise. Like no one.
I mean, we had the conversation. I asked if they're going to drop off, and
everyone said yes.
Okay.
I think the drop off level is different. Like we're talking about like a top 5 offensive all time to a top 5 in the league that year. So that's where it's like the drop off will be. Outside the top 5, probably not offensively.
That it's not like I the only thing I had a problem with was not regression, because like technically people I know I think we argued about this, Boone, regression. You were like, well, it sounds bad. But but if you go from a historic offense to like top 4, that's still regression.
I mean, if you had the number 1 offense of all time one year, and the next year you have the number 2 offense of all time, it's really technically that's a step back. But when you say
But
regression, it sounds like you're dude, you
sounds
guys
like
were
you're
bad.
talking. Yeah. And I think
That's where I
what
think the
you were
difference
saying
is. There's
too,
levels to the steps.
Yes. And I the only thing I haven't seen Lions fans saying like, oh, they'll be better or anything, or they'll be the same level. I think the thing that frustrated me was I got this vibe from Lions fans where it was a little bit of discrediting what Ben has done because of that game against the Commanders. Like, people are like, oh, he gets too cute all the time. He's just, he's not like, and I get it, right? There's calls in that game he even wishes he had back. I understand it. But that's what frustrated me, is people almost like got a little ungrateful that you just had a dude here that was one of the brightest offensive minds in the game. Like, I think that's where I was coming from. But to your point, I've never heard anyone say like, Jeff, they're going to be just as good, if not better. Maybe they're out there.
If I heard that, then that would have to be like okay, like,
Yeah, I haven't heard.
What are you smoking on here?
But I think it's going to be hard. I do believe like two things can be true, right? It's hard to mess up an offense with this much talent, but it still can happen. Like, we've seen like the Eagles are the prime example. Like, the difference in offensive coordinators, but it's just by how much, you know what I mean? Like, with this offense, Boone, to your point, like if they drop to like 7th or 8th, it's unacceptable. Like, that's just
agreed.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even though it's still like for most teams, like, oh, you're a top 10 offense. For the standard here, it's not. You have more than that. You have
when you go from top to bottom on this offense. Like, let me be OC. I don't know much about like schemes and everything. Like, I've never called a play in my life. But I mean, you're telling me when you have an offensive line that has multiple All-Pro players, you have a quarterback that's coming off an MVP caliber season, a tight end that's been All-Pro, wide receivers that have been All-Pro, running backs that are All-Pro. Like, yeah, there could be a small step back, but there is still a minimum to that. Like, you're in my mind, like when the offense that's on the field, that's a top 5 offense, like hands down. When you look at the weapons and everything you have top to bottom. So yeah, John Morton goes in there and it's like 7th, 8th offense. You're sitting there and you're going, dude, what are you like? That's one of those situations, and I'll be one of the first to say it. If they fall outside the top 5 in the offense next year, with that, like, guess what? Dan Campbell, you're gonna have to make a move offensive OC wise. Like, you're underperforming, and it's like, yeah, you could sit there and wait and be like, oh, they'll pick it up eventually. Like, no, like, this is an offense that should be going instantly. Boom, they've been together for 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, even
it's a lot of pressure.
I guess it also depends like how it look. Like, again, ranking matters, but I want to see how it looks. Like, if they're up in some games and they're not scoring a bunch of points, that's okay. Like, if you win a game because they have a better defense and they're relying more on the run, like, I don't want to just say points, but it depends how it looks. Like, if they're getting off the field a lot and they don't look as efficient, they're not, the more penalties, then yeah, like there's.
By the way, John Hughes said, was Booner just saying that he could go in there and run the offense as well? Like, which would mean anyone can. With the point is, obviously, someone off the street can't go in there and just be like, boom, here we go. The point stands where most OCs, whether you're bad or good, the offense that that is provided to John Morton is, like, player personnel wise, one of the best in the league. Like, arguably, you could say the best. So it's like anyone should be able to step in there if you have a football mind and you know what you're doing and run that offense to a top 5 offense. That's the point, like the underlying point of all of it. Like, there should be no excuse, in my opinion. And Jeff, do you remember last year? Like, do you boys remember this? Like, Ben Johnson started last year. To that point, Jeff, they started slow offensively. Like that Bucs game. Remember, like the Rams game, they weren't really vibing and going very well. And then the Bucs game, they were like 2 for like 15 in the red zone.
Yeah, you're not gonna like jump on them week 1, but like by Thanksgiving, you know,
you have to be good. What did Dan say?
Yeah.
He gave it a week. He was like, by weeks. He was like, if we're not going by week 8, then I'll be worried. But he was like, we got time to fix this offense because the offense was not going very well last year.
Look at some comments. Yeah, we'll get some comments here. Michael says, I agree Ben Johnson was great, but he is not God and had multiple offensive minds helping with plays, including Dan. Yeah, I don't want to like discredit Dan. And I don't think Ben's God to be but
DOD.
He is.
I got that Future song stuck in my head.
He's pretty damn good though. But he's not God. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, he's all the credit, Dan, none of the credit. I'm not doing that. But there is another comment I did want to bring up here that, it's worth bringing up. Kryptonic TV. I'll debate that. They have no fall off at all. You can't prove otherwise, other than saying tougher schedule. Goff has had 6 coordinators in 9 years. By the way, the second part, I think that's an underrated part of Goff, to be honest with you. Like, I think that's an incredible thing for a quarterback to have that many coordinators is insane. So,
and the success that he has had.
So, like, credit to him for all that. Okay, awesome. But that's really, really kryptonic. Really. No fall off at all.
They were a top 5 offense of all time. There has to be a fall off. Like, I mean, I guess there doesn't have to be. Like, they could come in and John Morton elevates this offense. Remember how we talked about it, Klotz? Me and you were like, the decision making on third downs. Like, there are some faults in Ben Johnson's game. And John Morton said, hey, there's a couple things that I want to add to myself, but I want to keep the same offense, but add more things. What if he comes in? Like, we could play the what if game. What if he comes in and all of the holes that we had in this offense, he's the one that fixes it, and you have the same offense with the holes filled? Like, that's a what if. Is it going to happen? Probably not, because that was such a good offense, an all-time offense.
I mean, this was an offense that touchdown-wise led the NFL with touchdowns and then was second in the NFL yardage-wise with 410 yards a game. Newsflash, that's not going to happen again. There's been very rare times where an offense has been able to put up 400 yards across the season, averaging that a game. Not to mention with the injuries they had on defense, they're having to score more points. So with less injuries on defense, you got John Morton instead of the Ben Johnson. This offense is probably going to be a little bit more, not conservative where they're strictly like not aggressive, but I would not be surprised if this offense is a little bit more conservative than last year, because Ben Johnson was taking swings at the fences, especially when they have injuries on their defense, and the offense went out there and executed most of the time outside of pretty much Houston in the playoff game. Buffalo, I think the offense looked great. It's just the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. But this offense is not going to be in a position where they're putting up 400 yards a game, because that's not what you want to be in. You don't want to be in a situation where your offense has to go out there and put up 28 points, 400 yards, 150 on the ground, 250 through the air, or else you lose. Like, no, that's not a good strategy to have. So I hope that the yards per game go down naturally because the defense gets better. That's going to pull down the Lions as far as top 3 offense. If they go to a top 3, go from a top 2 to a top 5 offense, they're averaging less yards and touchdowns, but they're operating at a higher level as far as third down, fourth down, staying ahead of the chains. I don't give a damn then. I just don't want this offense to look like a shell of itself next year when you're watching it. I don't care what the stats say when you're watching it. Does this look like an elite operating offense? Yes or no? As long as it's a yes, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, that I get what Kryptonic's saying. Like, he's talking about the level of play. He's saying skill set and how they look. Playing against better defenses, I don't consider a fall off. So he's not talking about, like, I get what he's saying.
That's a fair point, actually.
I get, in terms of, like you brought up, Klotz, I think he already was making that point. It's like better teams, better defense, production slows down a little bit. All that's like, I get the production will not be the same because they'll be playing better teams. They'll have a better defense. They'll be in different situations. They're not going to be blowing out, putting up 50 plus points on teams. They could, but they won't play like a Titans team, a Jags team, like these teams they just beat up on. Yeah. So I get that. I think I think people, again, the reality is, and you don't have to agree with it. That's fine. The numbers don't lie though. They were a top 4 offense on third down. You know what I mean? That's the stuff I'm looking at. Is like, as an offensive coordinator in these situations where you need a first down, how do you look? And they were always prepared. And I know Dan always helps out with that. But when you have a great play caller, situationally,
agreed,
it helps. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to look at John Morton and, like, how does he look situationally? You know what I mean? That's where you're looking at. It's not like the numbers.
All right,
but,
real quick.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that gets brushed over a lot, and we really don't bring it up when it comes to this offense. And I think this is the number one piece of it. Like, obviously, Ben Johnson, play caller, scheme-wise, all this, right? At the end of the day, boys, like, let's not just, like, not give any credit. And I know you guys aren't taking credit away. But again, like, these players, like, you have a top 3 running back in the NFL. Like, I'm not saying that Ben Johnson, like, how do I word this without it saying, like, it sounded bad? Like, Ben Johnson had an amazing offense served on a silver platter as well. Like, when it comes to personnel, like, let's not just slide by that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to discredit Ben Johnson. I give him all the credit in the world. But what he had in his hands with Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo last year, Sam LaPorta, Jahmyr Gibbs, a very, very good veteran quarterback who's playing at a top 5 level, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Like, I don't want people to just glaze over the fact of how good the personnel on this offense actually are. Like that's where I think people miss the point a little bit, to where it's like, the question, are they top 5? Why don't we stop asking that? Like, yes, the personnel, they're top 5. You could have a bad OC in there, and those guys, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to make plays. You have Penei Sewell out in front blocking. Jared Goff's going to make plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get his catches. Like, these guys are going to go out there and make plays regardless. Now, is it going to be the point to what Ben Johnson was doing? Maybe not. But you're not, like, we're acting like, hey, John Morton's going to come in here and there's a chance that he makes this whole thing fall apart offensively. No, the personnel is too good. It's too good. And people discredit that. And it gets brushed over really easily because of the Ben Johnson to John Morton. The players. These guys say it all the time in the NFL. Coaches say it every single day. Andy Reid says it. Bill Belichick has said it. All of the bestos always say it. OCs, DCs, look at what Aaron Glenn, look at, like, the defense didn't have the players. They weren't good. They were the fall off of this team. But at the end of the day, it's these guys say it. Like, if you don't have the personnel, you're not going to win games. If you have the personnel, it makes your job that much easier. Like, the personnel-wise on this team, they are top 5 locked in. They won't fall under that. They will not. They're too good personnel-wise. They have too many weapons that are elite. Not good, elite. Playmakers.
Yeah, I understand the personnel. That's why I don't think the fall off, when we talk about, like, the offense regressing, I don't think it's not going to regress to, like, a bad offense, or like, I don't think that's going to happen. But I do believe coaching, when it comes to coaching, people bring up, like, the NBA and how it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, these players can just play. The NFL is not like that. Like, coaching matters the most in the NFL. Like, that's why I get what you're saying, but that's where me and you, like, I think you're holding more weight with players than I probably do.
I hear these guys like Bill Belichick be like, listen, like, if we don't have the players, we're not winning. I can coach all I want. If I don't have the personnel and the players, I'm not. So, like, they have the personnel. Like, yeah, coach can mess it up, play calls, this and that.
Because Bill's never going to say it's because of me. You know what I mean? But, like, we can all agree, like, Bill with those defenses, it was, dude.
Yeah, I mean, personnel-wise, when you're talking about play calling and stuff, like, it does matter. I just think the drop-off, like, are they really going to fall to, like, 10th in the NFL?
No, I don't think it's literally, like that.
In my opinion, there's 0% chance.
I don't think, that's where we agree. Like, I think, I do think an offense, any coach could mess it up. I don't think it'll be as bad. Like, I don't think they dropped. I mean, they're not falling off a cliff. But we've seen coaches get fired for messing it up. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you fire coaches. But we'll see. I mean, I got faith in Johnny Mo to at least keep the ship afloat, you know, and be pretty good. I mean, at least solid to good. And that's, like I've said all the time, that's all you really need. You just need an offense that's, you know, top 5 in that area. In the defense is what you need the most. Like, I'm not as obsessed with, like, breaking records offensively. I really could care less. I don't. I think it matters about the defense. What do you have in a defense? So we'll see. But I do, speaking, I mean, we're on the Lions. We're talking about the offense. I do want to ask about the offseason because, and I got a couple of these screenshots here. On ESPN, they talked about off seasons and different NFL teams and the Lions and what they did, how they did it, how well they did it. And we haven't really discussed it. Like, we haven't even really done a segment where we grade the offense. And today we're going to just evaluate the offense so far. I know you still need the draft. Obviously, that's probably that's the big one, especially for the Lions.
Is it the offseason or the offense? You're saying offense.
The off-season, sorry.
Okay.
We haven't even talked really much about the off-season besides, like, who we should think they should sign. Yeah. But I have here, this is, what's his name, Boone, from ESPN?
Oh, it's Ben Solik. I think Slowick. Slowick. Okay. I don't know. Can I just give some context to this?
Yeah,
list?
Go ahead.
Because it makes more sense. And I hope when we do our top 5 tomorrow, because we're going to do our top 5 teams that off season. And I know, Jeff, you mentioned, like, you did it away. He actually did it a certain way. And when I read this, like, it was probably like an hour ago I read it. It made sense a little bit for his ranking, more so, like, to where he ranked the Lions. Because some people probably would look at it initially and be like, whoa, why are they here? But the way he ranked it So this is his article. He said, I didn't want to just rank their incoming free agent classes because that would simply be a ranking of which teams basically spent the most money. I tried to consider everything, not just free agent acquisitions and departures, but trades and extensions and restructures. I knocked teams that signed great players, but they overspent. And I had poor priorities. I rewarded teams that spent little but did so wisely and attacked their right positions. What could have been was also considered, like the Browns, for example. They didn't get much points for signing Myles Garrett to the same contract that other franchises would have been able to sign Myles Garrett when they're the only team that had gotten the picks by giving that contract to someone else. So that's kind of his thought, which I think puts it into context a little bit more. Like, hey, it's not just who signed the best free agents this offseason. It's value-wise, like extensions, who filled the needs, who did it in the right price range without having to overspend. Like the Patriots we could probably admit, like, they overspent on some guys, so they were able to build a team quickly. And I think there's like teams like that. Like you could say, like, signing wise, Giants signed so many guys. Patriots signed a bunch of guys. Who was the other team?
Because they had money and they were bad last year.
Commanders didn't sign a bunch of guys. They re-signed a bunch of guys.
Yeah, so like you can make an argument like boom, 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 but it's like, how really good was their offseason? Like they just spent a bunch of money. It's really more so like overall. Like, did these teams fill the needs? Did they do it with money? So just to put that into context a little bit for the people.
Well, here's what Benjamin from ESPN, Mr. Benjamin, what's his last name?
Solik.
Okay.
We could definitely be butchering this so bad.
Solik.
Let me see if I can.
Here's what he mentioned for the Lions and where he has them ranked. Okay.
And
he has them 4th, top 5 off seasons. Has them 4th. I have what he loved and what he didn't like. So we'll start with what he loved. All right, let me put this on screen. I'll put this away so you guys can actually read it. So he puts key acquisitions and returning players: Derek Barnes, DJ Reed, Levi and Josh, Marcus Davenport, Roy Lopez. He put, I loved the retentions. The Lions' lone big-ticket free agent addition was Reed, who replaces the outgoing Carlton Davis, speaking of the Patriots, at a $4 million yearly discount. That's a solid swap. Otherwise, they kept Barnes on a cheap deal relative to other linebackers, Onwuzurike, an ascending pass rushing defensive tackle who had to moonlight as a defensive end last season, and Davenport, who is a good scheme fit but missed almost the entire season with injury, offensive tackle. Dan Skipper is back too. And wideout Tim Patrick. Sometimes Super Bowl contenders are unnecessarily shuffling the deck. The Lions were wise to keep the band together and continue to trust in the process. So that's what he
very well said.
To your point, Boone, mentioning what they did, re-signing guys. Now, here's what he didn't like. Some things he didn't like. I didn't like this one.
I know. I saw this. I was like,
here's this. He puts, I didn't love the implications behind the Kyle Allen signing. There's nothing wrong with the signing. Everyone loves a veteran quarterback at QB2. But the Lions are making it clear they do not trust Hendon Hooker. They replaced him at QB2 with Teddy Bridgewater last season, once Bridgewater was done coaching his way to a high school championship. And Hooker will now battle with Allen for the same job. At this point, I'd be surprised if the 2023 third-round pick becomes a reliable backup anywhere. Wow. The Lions probably need a new developmental QB of the future.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Trouble in paradise, Jeff Iafrate.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's
now it's gaining out. The problem with that, it's gaining outside traction. This is no longer just a Detroit Lions fan base thing. This is now a National Football League problem.
Yeah, they know so much.
I mean, people in Detroit are saying it, and now I didn't see Pete say it.
No, I'm just saying anything he says about the Lions, we hate.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ben Solik's very good. The thing is, my point is it's now gaining national attention. Like, hey, what's going on with Hendon Hooker? Why did people bring Teddy Bridgewater in?
I already stated my case on that. I think people are look a little too much into it. I do. Personally.
Until they don't.
I
draft day.
I think and we can agree to disagree on this. I mean, I've already I stated where I'm at with the playoff thing. I think Teddy's great. He has a ton of experience. They trust him in the playoffs. Like Hendon's never even played snap. He played like probably 15 snaps in a real game. So it's like, you're throwing him out there for a Super Bowl run. Like, I don't know. But anyway,
rumor is Ben Solik lives in Michigan, JT said. So he's close to Detroit. What's going on here in Detroit?
I mean, JT, is this JT's like roommate? Like, how does he know? How do you know he lives in Michigan? He probably does. But regardless, I digress. I don't really care. You know what? Screw it. That doesn't help my narrative, JT. So I don't want to hear that. All right, let's just say he doesn't. I'll say this about the offseason, all right? Because tomorrow we're going to rank them. I think the Lions, like throughout us complaining about the edge position, which I do think is very fair. I do. And I would like to, and I know there's probably someone in the comments. Jeff, they're going to draft an edge. Yes, they will. I understand. Okay. I understand. I still want a veteran addition. I've made that very clear. All right. Zadarius, Judon, someone to come in that has some reliability over Davenport that has no reliability, and B, someone that's semi-productive. It doesn't have to be some there ain't no one left that's giving you a ton of sacks, but someone to come in. I still believe they should do that. But when you look at their offseason guys, the reality is, and Ben put it very well, great teams, like contending teams, aren't really making moves. They're not again, they have to re-sign their own players, especially when you draft well. When you draft well, your offseason isn't acquiring talent through free agency. Typically, your offseason is re-signing your own guys, drafting, potential starters or depth pieces in the draft. And then maybe you go out and get a guy in a bargain, like I mentioned, like Zadarius or someone like that. Maybe you get like a little piece like Roy Lopez, or, you get some little here and there as depth pieces. That's what the Lions are at right now. Like the Eagles brought in, and this is where I'm a fan of the Eagles doing it, but Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, like that's essentially all they did. And they let Josh Sweat leave. They couldn't pay him. So like that's what these off seasons look like for contending teams, man. Like you mentioned the Commanders, they re-signed a bunch of players. The Chiefs signed a left tackle because they had a massive hole at left tackle. Like they traded Joe Tooney. So they had to bring in someone, So I'm not going to sit here and jump on the Lions and be like, they didn't have a busy off season. It's not the point. That's why, like, when I mentioned the edge spot, signing an edge, I don't think that's not like a huge ask. Like, besides that, I completely understand, fellas, why the Lions had the offseason they had. And I don't really have too much like of a bone to pick besides the one thing we talk about, which is like Zadarius. But besides that, I think Ben's actually not, I'm not going to say where I have him because we'll do it tomorrow, but I don't think Ben's far off there. Like, I think the Lions, you look at their offseason, you're like, all right, they're going to re-sign Kirby. It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. You bring in DJ Reed, great. That was a massive hole in the roster. You lost CB1. You bring in another guy that can, help out a veteran in that quarterback room, a pro, a guy who's played pretty high-level football the last handful of years. That was the big position of need. You know what I mean? Maybe I didn't love the Davenport. I love the contract, but like I don't like him starting. But besides that, fellas, I get what Ben's saying. I think the Lions have had a pretty good offseason. I mean, the draft is really what's going to make it. The draft is same with the Chiefs, same with the Eagles. These contending teams, the draft is where you're going to look back and be like, okay, like you can really judge these teams. Like they're not the Patriots. They're not, these teams that are spending a bunch of money. They're just not. So.
Yeah, okay. The Lions haven't had a bad offseason. They have not had a top 5 offseason. And it comes down to this, at least so far. If we're grading top 5 offenses so far, or offseason so far, they're not in it. What were the Lions' positions of need going into this offseason? It would have been defensive end, maybe some corner depth. Now corner depth's not there. I would say Carlton Davis and DJ Reed. I would give Carlton Davis a little bit of a better nod, but I'm not going to complain about it too much. Haven't addressed the edge. And now, in my opinion, you have a hole on the offensive line. So defensive line, offensive line, you didn't get any better. You stay the same at corner. The contracts are fine, but let's really look at the names that they brought in as far as what have I said all offseason. Brad, you're going to pay for what you get. I think DJ Reed is the only one where they're like, you know what? We need a corner there. We need a true corner. We're going to pay for it. I understand that the Derek Barnes, Levi Onwuzurike, Marcus Davenport, the contracts are nice, but let's stop acting like, in my opinion, that this is a top 5 offseason. Like, the Lions haven't had a bad one, but there are teams around the NFL that have made moves and that have not overspent, but have made very good moves. The Lions, I pretty much think, in my opinion, are going into next season pretty much the same team. That's not a bad position to be in, but there are teams that are truly getting better so far this offseason. I don't think the Lions in any way, shape, or form have gotten significantly better anywhere. They've stayed about the same. So this is not a top 5 offseason so far. So it's a fine one. It's a little underwhelming, but again, draft can change a lot of it, to your point, Jeff. But so far, no, this is not a top 5 offseason.
All right. I'm going to say this. And like, if you don't want to say top 5, that's fine.
Yeah.
My problem with it, and I think it's somewhere worth top 10 locked in. Like,
sure.
Because in my mind, this is the thing. I think a lot of Lions fans, I'm trying to think of the word. What is it when you convince yourself something that's not real? Like, you're like trying to make yourself think, man, someone in the
Well, you're like talking yourself into something. I mean, what do you?
Yeah, in my mind, and I did it too. Like, I did it for a month. I did it, and I think we all have done it. But I think we all convinced delusion.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to go. I don't know if you meant
I
delusion.
think a lot of Lions fans convince themselves that it is you have to go out and get a top tier edge rusher, or it's a bust of an offseason, or you had one of the worst off seasons in the NFL. And Brad was a failure of an offseason. And there's probably clips of me out there because there was a point where I was under the hex of you need to have this splash of an offseason, and you need to get Myles Garrett. You need to, and Jeff, what did I say about a week ago? And I realized it. Name me any NFL team that had 2 top 5 pass rushers or edge rushers on their team at one moment, paid wise. Ever.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
No,
yeah.
You can't. You can't. So there was this delusion in Lions fan base, and there still is. And there's people who are on there. There's people who are in our chat. There are people, me, about a month ago, who were like, give me Trey Hendrickson and Aiden Hutchinson. Give me Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson. And there are still people who are pushing for it. It is, and I'll tell you what, that was and still is the most unrealistic ask from a GM in NFL history. It is. Like, it's ridiculous. And I hope people start kind of turn their heads a little bit and be like, yeah, that was kind of stupid. That's dumb of us. We really thought that was going to be possible, paying 2 edge rushers $40 million. Oh, yeah, okay. Now, the only argument I would say that puts them outside the top 5 when it comes to the offseason is they didn't go out and really build depth at the edge. That is it. Like, that's it in my opinion. I feel
Where
like
does offensive line come into play?
Offensive line. Let me get to that. I feel offensive line wise, they felt comfortable moving on with Christian Mahogany. And I think, and I heard TJ Lang say this, I said it before, they feel very comfortable with what they have in-house to where they think that Graham will be fine if he goes to right guard, and Christian Mahogany is able to take that step forward and be the next guy. And when you have that, what's the point of wasting $10 more million when you know you're about to sign Aiden Hutchinson, you know you're about to sign Kirby Joseph, and you're going to go out there and you're going to have to maybe add some more free agents, and you're going to go get in a guy like Avonte Maddox, or you're going to go add, you want to bring back guys like Levi and those types of guys to keep the depth in the edge room when you know you have pure starters in the offensive line room. The DJ Reed thing, great move. Unbelievable move. Almost every single ranking that I see, top 10 rankings, like what are the best moves in the free agency? Almost every single one I've seen in the top 5, it's been DJ Reed to the Detroit Lions with the price that they got him at. So listen, boys, like I think the expectations for Brad might have been over. The hand was overdealt from Lions fans. I think at coming off a massive wild card or a divisional round loss, I think everyone was a little over emotional, and I think there's still people that are a little over emotional and didn't really be realistic. And I think now, at least for me and Jeff, I think you're kind of coming down to earth a little bit with it as well and realizing, okay, yeah, the team that you had last year. Like, boys, like, can I ask you guys a question real quick? If the Lions were healthy last year, do they go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
every starter.
Good chance.
Okay.
I think it would be a toss up between them and the Eagles, but I'd like their chances.
The Eagles this last year, every starter but one healthy all year long. All the way to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Lions, if they're healthy all year long, they have a team that goes to a Super Bowl and wins one. So it's like, okay, now guys are healthy. You're back. You added pieces. Maybe not the pieces you guys wanted, but you added pieces. I just think that the additions that people were expecting Brad Holmes to add, those were pieces that you would want them to add if everyone was still hurt, if that makes sense. And that's where the unrealistic side of things comes. You guys see what I'm saying there? Like, that's where it comes on that side, to where it's like, yeah, those big moves, those would have been nice. Like, but Klotz, like, the only thing that I'll agree with you on, and I think we can come to a middle ground, is like players like Matt Judon. Like, you could bring a guy like that in, and if you do that, it's a top 3 offense or offseason. Like, I think that's literally the only thing. But in my mind, I think all Brad's thinking about is, I'll get my edge in the draft. And if he gets an edge in the draft and he adds like a safety and he adds an offensive lineman, man, like, dude, you're talking about one of the best off seasons in the NFL. And talking about bringing guys back on the prices that he did. Like, the man got Marcus Davenport at less than $3 million. He got Levi O at less than $3 million. If those guys perform and are healthy, that is some of the biggest steals of the entire offseason. Those are literally Howie Roseman deals. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
I will say this about that point. I think, because I've been consistent with this. The thing I don't love, because I think the Lions are a great team, and like, I get what you're saying. I'm not operating under the assumption that I'm treating this like they're still injured. Okay, I'm looking at if healthy roster. I think what hinders them is not having more depth, reliable vets at edge. That's what concerns. That's my biggest thing. And you already mentioned it. That's what I think. And I've been bitching about it the last, month, is what's your plan post Za'Darius? And the only thing, again, I don't love is the idea of a rookie saving that other edge spot. I just don't love that. I don't. And then it's like, well, you have Davenport. I mean, I can't trust Davenport as far as I can throw him, and I can't throw him. The dude's 6'6", 260. Like, I can't do it. It's hard. So that's where it hinders. But to your point, Boone, if Za'Darius Smith is back tomorrow, and knowing how Brad drafts, like, we're looking at this thing a lot. Yeah, I get that. Like, I'm not even
took a big step forward.
I'm not as mad about the Mahogany thing, because, like, if based on what we've seen out of Mahogany, I do think he'll have a breakout year. Like, what are they going to do? I mean, you want the guy to play if he's a good player. Yeah. So, and you can't count that as an addition because he's already on the roster, but that's still I think
an argument with that, though, too, like Mahogany, the fact that they moved on from Kevin Zeitler, again, I said it before, so easy. The fact that they moved on so easy shows you that in-house, Dan and them are like, hey, we love this guy. And that's where I build the confidence a little bit, to where I'm like, hey, I'm fine with it. Like, I'm okay to move on. I thought we got to see a couple games out of Mahogany, and I'm not going to stress out about that one. The Graham thing, it's really more so like, hey, what is Graham going to do? How is he going to perform next year? But yeah, I think that literally the only knock could be the edge. But again, Jeff, the thing with the edge group is I brought up the edge group going into training camp last year and the current roster edge group. And right now, with AQM and those guys, it's already an upgrade from what you had going into training camp last year. So you add a rookie, and that gap even widens. And that's, last year, that's what guys get hurt. And if these guys are going to stay healthy for this year, then even if you don't bring Za'Darius back, it's still an upgrade. As much as you hate, as much as we would love Za'Darius.
Yeah, you're still adding somebody. It's just not like, again, you're asking a rookie to solve your problem. You know what I mean? And I don't love that.
I think it's more so by committee, in my opinion. Because the rookie's not going to be the main guy. It's going to be like AQM, the rookie, and
AQM, the rookie, and Davenport.
It's a risk. I wouldn't say it's bad.
Out loud?
I wouldn't say it's bad. I would say it's a risk. It's a risk.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know what I'm getting.
That's what it is.
He's a fine player. Jason says Jeff Z didn't play well at all. He was a non-factor.
That's a lie.
Jason, listen, love you, Jason. I appreciate you watching. That is baloney. Absolutely baloney. He was
Love some good fried bologna too, by the way.
I mean, like, Za'Darius was top 10 in total pressures. Top 10 in total pressures. He was, according to PFF, 21st pass rush grade. So, screw PFF.
That's what's without anyone.
Without anyone. And you know what, guys? Okay, PFF stinks. Okay, that's fine. Take away PFF.
Production.
Jason, most of his sacks are in Cleveland. That's a lie. He had a sack every 2 games in Detroit. Name a player besides Hutch that has had a sack every 2 games. James Houston. Okay. James Houston is where? On the couch. Next to me.
He's actually in Cleveland.
Is he? Okay. Now he's okay. Then never mind.
The couch of the NFL, though.
He had a sack. See, this is the problem I have, man. And again, I love the chat. And it's not even the chat. It's like people in general. When people are not a part of the Lions, people just feel the need to discredit the player. It's so frustrating. It's like Za'Darius gets caught. It's like, oh, he was bad anyway. But if he was here, people are it's like, guys,
if he comes back, people will be like, yes.
Yes, that's the problem I have. Is like, dude, no one was saying that about Za'Darius last year when he was on the Lions. No one. They were like, this guy's, oh my God, thank gosh Za'Darius is here, we're winning the Super Bowl. Now that he's not here, it's this guy stinks. Am I saying he's elite or great? No. But is he a solid edge too? Yep, he is. He's solid. Is he the answer? Nope, he's not.
I mean, as long as you don't need him as your edge, your number one edge. Like, I think a lot of people compared him, and this is where it's like unfair to him. And I think Brad mentioned this in a press conference once. Is he gets brought in to be your number one edge to replace Aiden Hutchinson, the best in the NFL at the moment. Like that, like he's never filling those shoes. He never is. No one is. Yeah, the only people last year that would have done that would have been a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby, and you weren't going to get them. So it's comparing. What is it? What's the saying? Apples to oranges. Like you're not doing a fair comparison, because as a number 2 edge rusher in the NFL last year, he wasn't even a number 1 for half of the year. This man was top 10 in pressures, 9.5 sacks, and produced. And that's when he had to get thrown on this Lions team that had a depleted defense, depleted linebackers, depleted defensive line. What are we talking about here?
Like, I bet there's people out there now that, like, Kevin Zeitler left. They're like, Kevin Zeitler wasn't even that good at it. Like, there's always this, like, when they're gone, it's just, like, they're trash. It's like, guys, they're still the same players. They're just not on the Lions. They're still the same players.
He said you're delusional, Jeff. I'm in, probably me too, but that's all right. There's no winning in those
in here. We do agree with. He said yes, but not at 11 million. We're not saying 11 million either.
That could be a reason Brad declined and opted out. And I've been saying this all along. He opted out because if you keep him, it's 11 million, and you have, like, what was it, 10 million in dead cap next year, and he's not even on your roster. Okay, right. You decline the option, you opt out, you find a new contract, you get him on a 2-year deal for whatever it is. Let's say 12 million on 2 years, or 12 for 15, or I don't know, 12, 16. So you're giving him 8 a year, and you have him for next year as well, instead of having to pay a dead cap to him not even be on your team and be with a different team. So it's like, just let this thing play out before these people. It's crazy. Can I bring something up real quick before the doc hops on?
Yeah, go ahead,
I just want to bring up, and someone put it in, I can't remember who put it in, and I was thinking this today, and there was the doc article about it, about Levi Onwuzurike. And I had a thought process today about these guys, Levi O, Josh Pascal, 2 guys who, let's just call it what it is, boys. Levi O had a massive preseason, correct?
He did.
Great preseason.
He did.
And I would say to start the year, he wasn't bad. He was good. You were like, okay, Levi's giving you something. And I would say the same thing for Josh Pascal. Like, in the preseason, I think Josh had to play a little bit to prove himself. He did, and he played very well. And then in the season, very good in the run game. I wouldn't say he was as good as he was in the run game in the pass rush game, but he was given production. I will say this and give credit to some people, and I hope Lions fans, and I hope you boys, maybe you guys will disagree with me. I think there's something with this, like how last year you might have been a little disappointed in what Levi O did. or maybe at times what Josh was doing.
Right.
I think it had a lot to do with Aiden Hutchinson not being there and Marcus Davenport not being there and Ali McNeil going down. I really, boys, like, I really think that was a big deal for those two guys. I think if last year there's no injuries on the D line and Aiden Hutchinson's healthy, Davenport's healthy, and Aleem's healthy, I think those two guys have I'm not going to say career years like 9 sacks, but for them,
they're
years
better.
where people are like, oh my gosh, like we finally got to see what Josh Pascal and Levi O are about. Like we finally got to see it. And that's my confidence level kind of going into this next year. And I know like this is the point where things turn. And I hate to be that guy again because I hate people who do this. But another offseason to be in like Levi O and Josh Pascal.
Levi O.
This is the year. But if this defensive line stays healthy, boys, you add another edge rusher in the draft. I'm telling you what, those two guys, when they're not having to play 100% full role, and they're just, someone in the chat said adjacent, complementary pieces, I think they can be elite at it. I really do. And I think when we talk about the depth on the D line, I think those two guys, when they don't have to be number ones and number twos, and they're just kind of rotational guys when they need to step up, and they're surrounded by a DJ Reader, Aleem, Aiden Hutchinson, I think they blossom. Like, I think you're like, you can like, you can't just say no. Like those are legit dudes that are rotating in for you. You see what I'm saying there?
I
don't think people give that enough credit, and I don't think people have talked about it enough for those two guys.
So I don't. No, what you said is correct. I think where I'm at with Levi, and I've been thinking about this one. I didn't want to say it because I want to be absolutely sure about it. Jason, that's funny. I want to be absolutely positive, because I don't say things unless I absolutely believe them. I'm excited for Levi.
Thank you.
I'll say it.
Yes.
And I'm not going to lie to you.
Hold on.
I'm not going to lie to you. I've been a big Josh Pascal advocate, supporter, and I still like Josh.
I think he's going to be good as well.
But I think Levi, in terms of like who I'm excited for, he's jumped Josh Pascal. I think Levi, truthfully, Levi to me has higher upside. He does. I think he does. The biggest question, and I'm not talking about upside like elite player, but I think he can be a very, very solid rotational piece. And the thing about Levi is that this is unlike Josh, because Josh has at least had healthy off seasons. I mean, he's been banged up and he's dealt with injuries, but Levi's had a back injury that could have retired the man. You know what I mean? That's like a whole different thing. So trust me. I mean, I've had back issues. It's not fun. Okay. And he had it on a worse level. So I can't even imagine trying to play and I'm not playing a professional sport. So it's a whole nother level, but I'm excited for him because he's going to have 2 healthy off seasons, which with Aiden back, with Aleem, DJ Reader, and we'll see, maybe Zadarius. Even if not, you had a rookie, 2 rookies that have upside potential. When you have Levi in there, especially early on in the season when there's no Aleem, I think you're going to see Levi play much better. So I will say, Boone, I know last year we were talking about it, and I will say this too. Last year, man, you look at Levi from start to finish. Yeah, he didn't have a bad year. He showed the pressures were there.
Top 15 or 16 in pressures for defensive tackles.
That you'll take that. You know what I mean?
Especially for a rotational player. Like, he's not expected to be a starting defensive tackle for you. And he was one of those guys to where, you could say he's a tweener. Where would you rather have him playing? Like, be honest.
Defensive tackle. 100%.
Okay, exactly. And this last year, like with Davenport out and Hutch out, like he was a guy that had to play edge. Like he had to go outside the tackle at times. And like, I want to pull it up actually. I'm interested to see how many snaps he took outside the tackle. But like, I'm looking at it now. He had 47 pressures this year, 47. And it's like, that's good. Like, and I know he had a lot of snaps because of guys being hurt. He had almost 700 snaps. But like, when you do break it down with Levi, it's just like, he's not going to be a Lee McNeil or DJ Reader. That's not what you need. You have those guys for a reason, but he needs to be a rotational piece to where when those guys, if one goes down or a guy needs a break, he steps up. And that's where, for me, I'm actually, and I know we've talked about a lot, drafting defensive tackles, which I'm fine with if it happens,
right?
Or signing big time defensive tackle free agents or edge free agents. I'm okay with moving forward, and with Levi and Josh Pascal, like.
Yeah, Mekhi Wingo. I mean, you still have
like,
him there, so.
I think that's again, this is one of those things, Jeff, where I think for a couple months maybe we were a little we were hurting, man. That loss really put a lot of us in some dark places.
Oh yeah, we have plenty of venting sessions. I will say
a lot of fans still aren't out of those dark places either.
Well, we have our special guest, which, by the way, I'm impressed. I mean, this dude.
Vacation Doc.
He's on vacation, and all this man's got like I don't know what you said. It was like a margarita. What the hell is this man drinking? He's on the beach.
I don't even know.
I am Doc's, in the sun. He's probably got he's Lebanese. He's got the tan going on. I'm Italian. I know how it is. You touch sun, the guy just turns dark. And on top of that, on vacation, joining the fellas, ready to talk some ball.
He texted me and said, "I will never miss the show unless I'm sick." And I'm like, I said, "Doc, you're on vacation." He said, "I'm not missing the show for anything."
Which, by the way, check Doc out. They have a YouTube channel now. Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. I mean, obviously the articles are crushing, but now their content's crushing. Christian's doing a really good job. They had Vito on without Doc. So, they're getting busy over there at Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. But let's bring in our good friend, joins us every single Wednesday, publisher, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. He doesn't need an intro, but it's the Doc. What's going on, Doc? How are you doing?
Fellas, live from Orlando. I'm living life, man. The sun's out, guns out. I'm enjoying vacation. The nephews, the kids running all over the place. They're just like running all over the place. I'm like, hey, you give them a simple instruction, they can't follow it. So if you see a 15-year-old flexing in the camera, I apologize. He's trying to get on. I'm like, hey, I'm with the fellas. You can't flex on this camera, but I needed it, man. The sun. I hear it's 40 degrees back in Michigan. I needed the sun. I need a spring break. But here we go. Let's talk some ball. What's going on?
All right, real quick. Are you you're in Orlando? Are you like Disney, Universal? What's going on over there?
Yeah, no, I did Disney last year, so we're just hanging out. Got a place to hang out for a week, just to enjoy the sun. That's all we need, man. Just to get a little bit of vitamin D and get out of Michigan for a week, and we'll be back Sunday. But it felt like this year, as you get older, the cold weather, the work schedule, you need to get out of town. I needed to get out of town for a week, and this is great. We like Orlando. I did Disney last year, but this week is just chilling, just relaxing.
Yeah. I mean, Doc, you say vacation, but you know what? The guy's still talking ball. I respect about Doc, and he loves it. Absolutely loves it. Doc, I want to ask you, because I think we go to you on these things, all right? Because when the boys or the chat and the boys maybe have a disagreement, we go to the Doc to kind of settle it, the voice of reason. So let me ask, ESPN, they had their top 5 off seasons, and how it was graded wasn't acquisitions, right? It's like everything going into it, because then you could just say Patriots or whoever spent the most money. The Lions were like 4th in terms of their offseason. And me and Booner were on the same page. Like, we think we understand the Lions are a great team. They're not going to spend all this money, and they're not going to be like the Patriots. They have guys they have to re-sign. We said the one thing that I think hinders that a little bit is still the question at edge, Davenport. Like, that's probably the one knock. And I think Zadarius signing an edge would immediately bump them up to us. Like, it's only really one move we're asking for, besides the draft. We know the draft's coming. What do you make of the offseason? Where would you put them? And just how impressed have you been with this offseason and kind of in terms of the NFL as a whole?
Yeah, it was unique to start to this morning. I got to reading and seeing that ESPN ranked the offseason 4th. I wouldn't say it's that high, but I don't think it's that bad. Probably middle of the road, top 10, I would say. Look, it's just one of those deals where we all got to get used to it, right? The Lions are not really needing to make a big splash in free agency because they have a good football team. So it's going to be a lot of signing your own guys, filling some holes, and maybe when the time is right to make a splash. But I get it. I get where people will say, well, it's a good free agency, but not great. Christian and Vito did a video in my absence, and they kind of talked about, should Brad Holmes have been more aggressive? You could argue they could have been more aggressive to get one or two more players, but it's hard to argue against what Brad Holmes has done. I mean, he's successful. The football team's coming off of a 15-win year. It's just that one final piece we all think the Lions need. But I think it's a good free agency. You filled a hole at cornerback when Carlton Davis leaves. It's a free agency that is, best way to put it, it's professional. You have a good football team. You want to bring back a lot of your own guys. Would I have made a couple more strategic maneuvers at edge to get a more established player? Yes, I would have, but it's hard to argue when you have a deep draft class at edge that, hey, they can go find one or two to plug it in. So I would grade it a B+. An A would have been a splash, but it's good enough. It's good enough for this football team to at least compete because you still got a whole draft and a trade deadline to potentially to upgrade this football team.
Excuse me, Doc. I've had a cough for about 30 weeks now.
Stay off the weed. No.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I haven't gotten rid of this cough. It's like I'm not sick anymore. I just keep coughing. I need to go to the doctor for it. Doc, I do want to bring this up because we had a conversation with you actually about the edge in the rookie class, and you actually, and I'll give you a lot of credit for it. We all were pretty outside, and I've been saying it all show today. Like a lot of Lions fans seem to be a little blindsided or a little blinded by the actual offseason because a lot of these fans wanted the big splash. And I think you said it about a week ago, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but you had brought up, listen, like this team is established when they're healthy, they can bring in a rookie defensive lineman with how deep the class is and add that piece. Do you still believe that? Do you still think, hey, a rookie edge and say the first round or the first 2 rounds can come in and actually make this defensive line to the level, the Super Bowl level that everyone is expecting them to be?
Yeah. Fellas, isn't that crazy? It's crazy to think we all believe the Lions will take a edge rusher at number 28. They may not. Fellas, they might not. They might not. The draft class is deep at that spot. So you could, I would not be shocked if they went offensive line, if they went safety. I was listening in, hanging out outside in the sun, listening into a former NFL GM on a conference call, and he loves Malachi Starks, the safety. He's like, you already have a position of strength. Why not continue to add good, talented players from the SEC? So they make a good argument that, look, the Lions are going to target the best player available. And look, all we can reference is what Brad Holmes says himself. He's like, we are not an organization that drafts for need. Well, you could make the argument last year they had a need at cornerback and they got 2 of them. And now you believe that we all believe they need an edge rusher. But I think they can get someone of value in later rounds. Would I prefer them to go out and get someone in the first round? Yeah, there's a lot of good ones that could have some impact. So, look, we're in the position where we can critique Brad Holmes, but he's earned the benefit of the doubt that if that scouting department and he targets a player they want to take in the first round, I believe that they're going to have some impact. I would like it to be an edge rusher, and I do think the guys that you're reading about, from Boston College, from Michigan, you have Shamar Stewart, you have a lot of edge rushers that could come in and as part of a unit. And that's what I've always tried to say, hey, Brad, I think you're kind of one player away. But when you talk to Calvin Shepard and the defensive coaches, they always say, look, a defensive line is not really made up of one player. It's a collective unit, and we want that unit to play together. And all we can hope is that whoever comes in to fill, whoever's there, if it's Davenport, if it's a young rookie by the time the playoffs roll around, that the unit working with Casey Rogers is going to grow and develop over the next 5 months, from the time the season starts in September until the postseason, that I do think whoever is slotted, because it's going to be an individual that they trust can be part of a collective defensive line. Whoever it's going to be, I think will have some level of impact to help this football team. Because, listen, you guys know, by the time December and January hit, you're not a rookie anymore.
Well, Doc, I want to ask you more kind of about the draft itself, because you talked about the importance of that edge spot, which, by the way, I agree with you. I know people say he doesn't draft for need. I don't think he does for the most part, but, I mean, he's going to take an edge, you know what I mean? Because then the argument back would say, well, people are like, wait till the draft. Well, I thought he's not taking players of need. So how do we even know he's going to take an edge? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I think he'll take an edge. But let me ask you, in the draft itself, we have, offensive linemen, we've had guards, tackles, centers. What positions, if you're kind of playing the part of Brad Holmes and on this offensive line, are you looking at maybe for him to potentially address in the draft? Or you think they're pretty much set at this point? Where are you at with the offensive line?
Yeah, no, the offensive line can definitely be bolstered. I think you're looking at, we've talked about it, a swing guard tackle combo, somebody that can be flexible, versatile to play along the offensive line. Look, you're going to have a decision in a couple years, maybe even as soon as 2026 about Taylor Decker. We've talked about what Giovanni Manu could potentially become. Do you decide to eventually switch Penei Sewell to the left side and stick Manu there? But I do think you need a guard, and that's where you see a lot of the talent there as well. I think you're going to see, it's funny because we do the mock drafts now, and you're going to start to see the beat writers catch up and do a little bit more. You'll start to see the, Ohio State linemen, the Texas offensive linemen, Oregon's linemen as well. You'll start to see some linemen get in the mix as well in their mock drafts. Right now, it's been a little bit edge heavy, defensive heavy, but I do think you need a young guard that can potentially come in and compete with Graham Glasgow. It's going to be the question mark. I can't wait for it's going to come up quick, where after the draft, we're going to get a chance to see rookie minicamp, and then we'll start to see OTAs. One of the things you're going to look for is, where's Graham Glasgow going to play? Do they switch Christian Mahogany to the left side and put Graham Glasgow back more natural to the right side? That might help, but you just need a young guard that can help against the run, be somebody that can develop in this offensive line. You got to retool it. And guys, you're hearing that whisper. Now, it's not loud, but you're hearing that whisper across the league that maybe they'll look at a center too, because, Frank Ragnow, while he's coming off of a great season, you just don't know how long he's going to want to grind dealing with all those injuries. Now, he had a decent year last year in 2024, but you're going to start to need to find his replacement as well. So it's one of those delicate balances, right? You have a good offensive line, but you need to continue to restock it and keep it a strength. And I just think the depth there is probably where the people in the chat, the supporters, and everybody would say, you could do a little bit better. You could upgrade the offensive line with a guard tackle, swing tackle that can do a lot of good things.
Jake Majors, remember the name, Doc, center.
Yeah, that's a Booner. That's a Booner guy.
Shut up. Go on. Ask the question.
I'm kidding. That was a Jeff. That was a Jeff guy. Originally drafted by Jeff Iafrate. I'm about to throw that out there. I want to throw this out, Doc, because we talked about it today, and Sam LaPorta spoke with Kay Adams this week, and she had brought up John Morton, and he was like, hey, we'll see what happens here. Like, we're excited about it, but we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts now that we kind of know what John Morton's about? And I know we've had conversations with you, but it came up today on if we feel like John Morton can maintain this top 5 level offense with this Detroit Lions offense. And my side of it was, listen, you don't want to discredit what these players are, because the personnel that he has is the best in the NFL. You can make an argument it's number 1 in the NFL when it comes to O-line, the wide receivers, tight end, quarterback, running backs. Do you think that there's a chance there is I don't even want to, the wording on it is weird because we don't want to say regression, because that sounds like it's a big step back. But do you think it's like, hey, there's no chance they're not a top 5 offense again this season?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, right? People want to know, all right, when you have new coordinators, what's this football team going to look like? And I'm going to address that. But a great question was asked by John Lord. Am I allowed to gamble? Absolutely. You're looking at a guy's guy. First and foremost, as a psychologist, I grew up right around the time when Rounders came out. So I'm stellar at Texas Hold'em. I can play Pot Limit Omaha. I can play 7-card stud, Raz. I can play all the games.
My gosh.
But my specialty is Limit Hold'em, because you don't have to push all your chips in. I like the aspect. But yeah, I like to gamble it up. And are you kidding me? There's so much great advice with Booner's Bets, all the other guys around. There's great gambling podcasts. There's so much great advice. Hell yeah, I throw bets. And I have a healthy bankroll. I don't make big, huge bets all the time. I don't do parlays. I keep it straightforward, money line bets, A couple of big bets a year on Michigan State crushing Oakland, a couple of bets that are going to just be easy bets, even though you got to make a higher wager. But yeah, I'm a straightforward, you have your lulls and stuff like that, but there's so much free advice that you can go find it and indulge in it. Like I drove here, so I listened to some gambling podcasts. I listened to some, there's so many. And now the ladies are getting into it too. I'm more prone to listen to some of the ladies give some gambling advice. Hell yeah. Kelly makes bets or whatever her name is. She's great as well.
Kelly in Vegas?
Kelly in Vegas, Megan making bets, all of them.
Yeah.
I listen to them all. I find them all for those.
But Doc, can you bet? That's fine, right? Like
yes,
if you're recording the game, like
you can bet on the Lions.
Imagine you have like a money line bet. You're at the game. It's cool. It's all good.
No, I don't do it during the work hours. Never during work. I mean, I have to focus. But let's just say, I've made some money betting against the Lions, knowing when they were a rough team. Of course, when they were a bad team, you knew some bets that you could make and handle business. So I'm not terribly upset with my gambling bankroll. I'm very happy. And also too, if you look me up, I've cashed in a couple poker tournaments. I like to gamble. It's not a bad thing to do if you do it reasonably and responsibly. There's no rules against it. I can't just and plus with the website, gambling sites are allowed to advertise with us and all that kind of stuff. So we've done it all with the big name books and all that kind of stuff. But as a general reminder, please gamble responsibly. And if you have a problem, somebody that can also help you cut off the gambling habit, because that is a big thing that's kind of spawned in Michigan is people have gambling addictions and doing some wild stuff because they don't know that, hey, most people lose. And it's just a bad thing all the way around.
Well, Doc, the problem is though, you're a psychiatrist. So, I mean,
listen, I'm a smart guy. And I read people, and also I'm a numbers guy. So I was always great at math and psychology. You do research, you're good at statistics. So I understand the numbers aspect of a lot of the betting. So, the hedging and all that nonsense you can get into to be able to kind of have a little bit of an advantage. So it's a fun opportunity to boost your bankroll if you do it responsibly. But back to the Lions. And listen, trust Booner. Booner gives out the Booner bets have I've always
very, very good.
I'm like, hey, Booner, thank you so much, man. Your bets have put some extra dollars in my bankroll as well. But yeah, the offense, getting back to the Lions, the offense, I think you can bet on this offense being a top 10 offense, no doubt about it. You look at it from the framework, John Morton helped construct this offense. So I would think that there's going to be some familiarity. There's no way that Jared Goff would approve this hire with Dan Campbell if there was not some familiarity and comfortableness that, hey, we're going to work together to make this. And just look at, literally, and I'm not saying this disparagingly, but Booner can put on the headset and be like, get it to Gibbs, get it to Amon-Ra, get it to LaPorta, get it to Jamison Williams. Jared, what do you want here? Booner could run this into a top 5 offense. You would have to be, I think, really incompetent with the level of talent that they have. And we're all kidding, but you recognize that John Morton's been around the game quite a bit of time. And I would be shocked if this offense wasn't rolling, scoring a bunch of points. And it goes into some good content too, in that because of your guys' big support, I've been able to add writers as well. And I found a great one. And if you want to know down the road how I came to find him, it was great. I find my writers in the funniest ways. But Emmett Metavosky is unbelievably hardworking, smart, and he loves numbers. So he's been doing a couple stat pieces that you can check out at Lions on SI. You can see the numbers offensively that the Lions were able to succeed in. That's up there now. And then tomorrow we'll look at some improvements the Lions can make offensively in regards to red zone, some penalties that they had, some things that they could do a little bit better. But this offense, guys, is going to dominate. And I think it's going to be a fun ride offensively.
Doc, what about that? I've seen a couple people. I actually seen content being made about this. Can you address this? Like, what is this Amik thing? Like, I have not. Have you seen anything? Because I have not. I don't know. Why would there be trade rumors about Amik Robertson?
Okay. Here's why.
Not heard that at all.
No, I have not heard that at all. But here's why you hear those whispers. All right, this is an interesting time for our content creators because there's a little bit of a lull. Next week is the owners' meetings, which is funny, and I'm not going to them. I decided to come to Florida early. I'm not staying.
There you go.
I wanted to get down here. I couldn't wait any longer. I couldn't wait till Sunday, Monday of next week with 40-degree weather. Here's what happens. People start to look at contracts, right? And they start to say, okay, Amik signed, I believe, a 2-year deal. And so now he's sitting on the final year of a deal, right? So it's not like, when you look at head coaches and you look at that lame duck status, Amik's not lame duck, but what they say is that he's going to be looking potentially to cash in on the success that he's had. So people will start to explore contracts and say, well, if he's on the final year of a deal, doesn't have any more guarantees, could he then be on the potential trade block? He's not officially on the trade block, but I would presume that teams would call about him. But I look at it like, okay, he's a player that's an asset. And you don't want to, after the year that the Lions just had with injuries and stuff like that, you got a cornerback making less than $10 million a year that is excelling well above his pay. So you're not going to trade him. But you're going to hear, okay, so just to listen, I never want to, like some people, I don't want to talk down to the audience, but let me just kind of explain it. And I will write them. Everybody writes it. That doesn't mean that when you hear a headline that goes, analyst suggests, or there's potential discussion, that's more in line with maybe someone's thinking that Amik could be available. Someone's throwing it out there, speculating. If there was an official report, you would see the word report in front. It would be, the headline would be report, Amik Robertson is on a trade block. You'd hear draft buzz. You'd read it on Lions on SI. I'm hearing from reliable people that Amik's on the trade block. He's not on the trade block. I would be shocked if a player of his caliber is out there. But you realize, okay, people use their wisdom and they start to read into things and they go, well, you got DJ Reed, you got, Terrion Arnold, you got Ennis Rakestraw. Then you potentially could, if you're going to want to draft for more assets, you could say, well, what's an asset you have? That's Amik Robertson. So those are just the stuff that you and I would do as we sit around the water cooler, hanging out, drinking some beers down here in Florida. You'd say, how could the Lions get better? Well, there's 2 players that you could trade. You could trade Hendon Hooker. You won't get much value. You might get a 5th-round pick. You might get a 2nd, 3rd rounder for Amik Robertson. But I would think that the Lions would be hard-pressed to want to trade a guy that's looking to be a number 1. And that's just, Amik Robertson is the definition of a Detroit Lion. Gritty, tough, super nice and friendly, accessible. I would be shocked if he wasn't on this team. But yeah, the question mark is going to be how much you're going to pay him after this year if he's going to be a Lion. So it could be his last year in Detroit.
I like Amik Robertson. I think he's good depth. So I hope not, to be honest. Another player though on the defensive side of the ball, Doc, I want to throw out there. Aiden Hutchinson. We had the conversation, and I've seen a lot of people in our chat, some commenters on Twitter, kind of bring up the point, hey, I feel like Aiden Hutchinson's going to have, like, why aren't we talking enough about him taking a step back this year? I brought up yesterday, like, I don't think there's a step back with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. Like, yes, that's a tough injury to come back, not to come back from, but it's a tough one, the recovery and everything. But we've seen Aiden Hutchinson in his career have major injuries and come back even stronger. How do you think that progression is going this offseason? Have you heard anything? And if so, what do you think he looks like, let's say, through the first 5 weeks of the NFL season?
Yeah, by all accounts, I think you're hearing that, he should be healthy and ready to go by the start of the year. The level of involvement that he might have in training camp, you'll pay attention to. But you figured that he said, when he appeared on the Taylor Lautner podcast, that he was nearing the end of the rehab phase and then he could just strength train. So I would expect, the first month of the season, like the Lions too, to be a little bit slow, just to kind of get into everything. I don't expect him to start off with 7.5 sacks in the first month of the season, but you want to just see, and for the Lions, the off-season program will be key. OTAs, training camp. You're going to want to see how he looks in those early months, but you want to take it easy too. It's a serious injury, but I expect him to be the Aiden Hutchinson of old in regards to the ability to pressure the quarterback. Now, the thing that will, need to develop probably will be his football stamina and his ability to grind through 60 minutes of action week in, week out. But, I do expect him to come in great shape. And I think that the way I would probably preview it now is, maybe start the year, the first month of the season, 2-3 sacks, and then the second and third quarter is where the sack total just jumps up. And because guess what? You realize that, all right, now when you're a offensive coordinator, you're going to scheme to double Aiden Hutchinson. You know that you're not going to let 97 ruin the game. So you're going to give some chips, some extra attention. Hey, you guys saw it. It's going to get some grabbage action. People are going to be, he's going to get a lot of attention, and he's got to fight through it. But I think that too, here's the best part. I think that, Albert Breer did a mailbag for Sports Illustrated, and he said, look, everyone's asking, what's the parameters of a contract going to look like for Aiden? He said, look, there's advantages. If you do it now, you pay $40 million. If you don't do it, if you decide not to pay Aiden Hutchinson, you might end up paying $50 a year in 1 year with the market going up and people keep resetting it. So there's advantages to getting it done. I think he gets a nice, healthy contract done before the start of the year. He's rewarded, he's refreshed, and he's going to be one of the highest paid NFL players, non-quarterbacks. And I think he's going to start the year looking to say, hey, 2024 was a year that got cut short, but he's going to dominate in the second half of the 2025 season, in my opinion.
Well, Doc, you made an article, posted it. We actually talked about it before you joined, but a player that would outperform his contract, Levi and Josh, who we're both excited for. And I think for Levi, the deal he got compared to a lot of defensive tackles getting signed in free agency, where just kind of explain that vocally now, your confidence in the contract he signed, because it is a steal amongst guys in free agency.
Yeah, I think all the writers in town, you guys and everybody would have projected, my goodness, that Levi would have secured at least $10 million just based on his potential. But it looked like the market for his services just wasn't there. So he ended up signing a 1-year deal, and you realize, oh my goodness, he's on a prove-it deal. So the value, the reason why people feel like he's going to outperform that contract is based on what others at his position can make for 6 to 8 sacks a year, maybe more, because he said his goal is to turn the pressures into more sacks. So you realize he's a player getting comfortable in his own game and now trusting his body. I would think there's a chance for 10 sacks. Maybe that's a ceiling for him this year, but one of the best contracts signed this offseason for the Lions was Levi and Josh. It's a prove-it deal, 1 year, and many of us projected, Christian, myself, thought that he was probably going to be anywhere between 10 and 15 million a year. And you saw other contracts get signed, and you're like, that probably is going to price out the Lions with Levi. But I think people were a little bit reserved with his back injury, and now he's a Lion, and I think he's going to way outperform the value based on the number that they're paying him. So that's a good thing. That's how you win. That's how you win in the NFL, is when you have a lot of contracts that are value team friendly, and prove-it deals are great. And I think Levi and Josh will have a chance to maybe even earn a long-term contract based on what he does this season.
I have to throw this out there, Jeff. I want to apologize in advance. The whole Hendon Hooker thing. Obviously, they bring in, I think it's Kyle Allen as the number 2, not as the number 2, but to compete for the second quarterback position with Hendon Hooker. We saw that, and then also you see the stuff last year at the end of the season, then bringing Teddy Bridgewater back to be the backup, and he's the one that steps in that playoff game. Both of those scenarios kind of steer all of us towards that direction of what's going on with Hendon Hooker. I know it. I want to caveat this too, Doc. I've been very vocal about every contending team should draft a quarterback every year at some point in their draft, whether it's 6th, 7th round. We've seen it with every contending team. But the way the Lions went about the Hendon Hooker thing, thinking that was going to be a development, and hey, this guy actually that was a little odd. Is this whole experiment with Hendon Hooker over after seeing the Kyle Allen and now in as well as the Teddy Bridgewater stuff last season?
Yeah, it's nuanced, but I think it's never as bad as we all think it is, but it's never as good as others make it out to be. You know what I mean? Hendon Hooker's on thin ice with the Lions. It's pretty clear, right? You recognize that, and it's a good thing. Competition in the NFL, the Lions are always looking for competition. They don't guarantee jobs to nobody. And for Hendon Hooker, it's just another opportunity. The Lions also felt like, hey, we can get another someone with a little bit more experience in the room to help out as well, because Jake Fromm is also in the mix as well, but he doesn't have a lot of game experience. And so that's where, and guys, it's just common sense. NFL coaches like experience. And with an Allen, look, his contract doesn't dictate that he's number 2, but at the same token, Hendon Hooker is a quarterback that his main purpose is to just learn, develop, understand the schemes. But yeah, clearly, what does it mean that, and let's look at the tea leaves. He was working with Tanner Engstrand, and the Jets didn't come pursue Hendon Hooker. What does that say? Tanner Engstrand was working with Hendon Hooker. Now he's the new offensive coordinator of the Jets. Isn't it a little bit unusual that he would go with Justin
If he was
Fields?
ready, they probably have an opportunity.
If he was ready, he would be a Jet. And if he was ready, others would scoop him up pretty fast. So I don't think he's ready. He's inexperienced. So he's a developmental quarterback. He's got it really, in a situation where Jared Goff's durable. His job is just to continue to learn and develop and grow and to be the best that he can be. But, this NFL scheme that the Lions are running, it was complicated. And Ben Johnson, the league doesn't wait for anybody to catch up. And for Hendon Hooker, 25, 26, if you're a competitor, if you're Hendon Hooker, the writing's on the wall. You are not going to see the field in Detroit unless Jared Goff gets hurt. And that's a long shot because of Jared Goff's durability, the way the offensive line is constructed. You should be asking for a trade. You should be like, look, I want my opportunity now. It's been 2 years. I want to go somewhere. But I don't think that an inexperienced cornerback is going to draw a hefty amount of value for the Lions based on where they drafted him. So guess what? It's one of those deals where he's the number 2. If you're one of those people that want to play Hendon Hooker, I feel bad for you because you don't know anything about football. He's a guy that is basically stamped for the Lions' number 2 job, but the Lions will always push for more experience in the room to help him, to help others. And also too, just in case something happens to, you can go through quarterbacks pretty quickly. If Jared Goff does have something happen to him, Hendon's there, you're always one play away, and coaches would like to have more experience in the room. And if the Lions thought that Kyle Allen was there, it's competition. So Hendon Hooker's job is not secure. But again, it's Detroit. This is Jared Goff's team. And I think in 2026, Jared Goff has a $69 million cap hit. You think Hendon Hooker has a shot in hell to see the field in Detroit? He's got no chance. So I would say you develop another year. And if you're Hendon Hooker, you look to start your career somewhere else in the next year or two. Take advantage of what you learned and move on.
And side note, Jay Hart asked, why was Dave Phipp chatting with CP3? Do you see that? What the hell is that connection? What is that?
That was interesting. That was for like an hour, they said.
Most of random conversation. Well, yeah, what is that?
Yeah, no, I would say that, look, Dave Phipp is a basketball fan. He's been around the block as well. So I would say potentially the connection maybe with Arizona or Phoenix, the connection. These coaches are fans of the NBA. They're fans of what's going on. So Dave Phipp is one of the most unique individuals that's out there. He could have a conversation with anybody. And you saw his son there. So you recognize too that maybe the son was a fan as well of good players in the NBA. So CP3, one of those deals where it's good to see a little bit of support. And you've always seen the Lions go out to Pistons games. You've always seen heavy support from Amon-Ra St. Brown and David Montgomery, and the Lions coaches go out there. You saw Aaron Glenn get out to a Pistons game as well. So I think that there's an opportunity for, these coaches are all fans too. They're all fans of the NBA and fans of good products. So it was cool. It was cool to see Corey get that photo and to see Dave Phipp conversate with a good player, because there's a lot of interesting things that I'm sure could have been revealed and discussed with a great basketball player and a great football coach.
Well,
What are your thoughts on the new kickoff return?
yeah.
You're right.
Brain. I want to ask you because we had a breakout player discussion, and I had Christian Mahogany on my list. I think Christian Mahogany, they obviously are telling fans they like him. Fans know he's a good player. Small sample size, but he was solid against the Bears. What do you make of that take by me? Just this year, I think it'll be a breakout year for Mahogany. I don't think he'll be a Pro Bowler, but I think this year people will start to recognize this dude may have Pro Bowl potential, or I think we'll say he has Pro Bowl potential. What do you think about Mahogany this year? The Lions fully trust in him now.
Yeah, and then just like Terry and Arnold said, Dave Phipp is a man of the people, and that's just the best way to put it.
Make him the mayor.
Yeah, make him the mayor. It's one of those things with Mahogany that you see a player that, look, was groomed for the position, nasty offensive lineman. I think he's very bright, and I think that he's going to succeed. And you moved on from a veteran in Kevin Zeitler. So that's big shoes to fill. I mean, there were people that were like devastated. Oh my God, you let go of Kevin Zeitler. And I'm like, the man's 35 years old, making $9 million. Football teams don't typically do that. So you go younger at the offensive line position. He'll fill the need. It's a great point to have young breakout players that are going to do some things. And that's just rewarding to look at for a player. And look, he was given the opportunity in the playoff game. He did okay. And I think that there's a great opportunity for this player to showcase what he's about now in 2025. Absolutely. I think he'll be a great breakout player as well to really help this football team in 2025, going younger at the offensive line position.
I love it. I'm pumped up about it. I'm switching here for you, Doc. I'm switching off the Lions here because tomorrow the Detroit Tigers kick off their season, and I'll just say this: Tigers fans right now are not happy with the organization. 48 hours, 24 hours before the season starts. I want to get your thoughts on all of this because it's been a hot topic in Detroit. I know you're in Orlando. I don't know how out of touch you are over there right now, Doc, with current day here in Detroit. They're removing the keyhole from the infield, and they changed the Tiger sign. I don't know if you saw that as well to the Comerica Park sign. What are your thoughts on all of this? Because fans are up in arms, and I have a take on it that later in the show I'm going to throw out there. About Chris Ilitch and this whole thing. And I just want to get your thoughts on this whole situation.
Yeah, first and foremost, no matter where I am in the world, no matter how many Modelo's or free drinks,
know about that.
No matter where I am in the world, I am as dialed in as anybody in Detroit sports. I love it. I'm sitting by the water, just checking out what people are saying. And here's a funny story, okay? It humbles you. Okay, I'm gonna try to get through the story quickly so I don't,
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't want to call anybody out, but it was funny. So the Tigers had their taste test thing today, right?
Yeah,
so
saw that.
I was invited, but here's how they invited me. They sent me the email Monday afternoon, and the Tigers people have been always fair with me. They're like, Doc, sorry, we forgot to invite you. Can you still come on Wednesday? And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be on vacation. I can't come, but can you still invite me? But can you do it a little bit earlier so that I can send somebody else next time? And they're like, yeah, sorry. So it's humbling that I was the afterthought invite to come to the thing.
They were thinking about you. They were like, oh no, the Doc.
That's how I'm going to
like.
See, that's how a healthy person would think about it. But someone like me, an egomaniac's like, how do you forget the DOC? How do you forget Detroit Sports Podcast Network? You don't tell someone that. You don't put that in the email. You don't say, oh, we forgot to invite you. I saw it that I'm like, oh, okay. That's never going to be a great intro to any email. But I was like, that's fine. No worry about it. But yeah, no, I'm locked in. I read nonstop. I'm a sports addict. I love everything about Detroit sports. Yeah, Chris Ilitch, man of the people, right? Takes down the sign for a classic Tiger sign to put up some stupid Comerica sign. And it's just further recognizing the divide between the common man and the corporate individuals running teams. I mean, Comerica was special. It had, it has a special meaning to a lot of people based on their time there, but it had some unique stuff. The keyhole there. You had I like the bigger fence because it helped the pitchers, but it's just trying to kind of get more up to speed with the others. And now, to me, look, I'll say this. I looked into the price of those home plate seats. I thought it was going to be on a per game basis, then realized I would not pay for 5 games, 10 games. Once, fine, you do it, you splurge, but you're just causing a divide. I like those. I like the tunnel. I like the seats behind home plate. This thing that they're doing is ridiculous. You can see why it's not sold out. I mean, the common fan is not going to ever sit in those seats, and you're just trying to do what? In the end, it's all about timing. And you get to the postseason once, and then you don't bring home the big name bat, and then you raise the prices you knock out a whole section to raise the prices for the common fan, and you displace people that have been sitting in those seats for a long time. It's greed. It's not fan friendly. I don't like it. So I'm not a fan of how Chris Ilitch handles a lot of things with the Wings and the Tigers. I think they do some things that are anti-fan and anti-making the Comerica the best experience possible. I mean, they just put in – you had to have great fans and great podcasters go to Comerica and take pictures of rickety old televisions before they upgraded them. Come on. And you've made it the experience where parking's expensive. The average fan doesn't care about sirloin steak at the game. They just want some good $15 tickets, affordable beer. And hey, once in a while, I'm going to say this, all right? The doc has access to go there for free, all right? But I'm a man of the people too. I'll go buy a seat, and I'll go sit in the stands even though I got a press pass. The Comerica Park has sold me more than their fair share of stale peanuts. And I never say anything, but I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, you're charging me $10 for peanuts. The least you could do is make them fresh, So you got to kind of treat your fans a little bit better than what they've done. And sometimes they take advantage of that. And you recognize, hey, there's still some great things about Comerica. I would go there quite a bit because I'm a fan of sports. But I don't like the average fan being taken advantage of. I don't like making changes. I don't care if the players don't want it. I thought that was special to have that keyhole there, the last stadium in the Major League Baseball to have it. And then people are bitching, bring the fences in. I like the scoreboard, but I'm not a fan of changing the sign to Comerica. I think it's stupid.
Doc, I never really got to ask you, by the way, because, and this is a big fumble by me, because we've had you on for almost 45 minutes. Avante Maddox, what do you make of the signing there? Get your thoughts on it. Former Eagle from Detroit, very solid player. It seems like Brad, overall, this corner room is upgraded. I mean, we could safely say, I guess Carlton to DJ, whatever you want to think, but as a whole, it's upgraded. What'd you think of Avante coming to Detroit, coming back home?
Yeah, good for the room. I think that he got a reputation of working with the young cornerbacks with Philadelphia. Look, he's going to be a depth piece, third, fourth cornerback, competing with Ennis Rakestraw. So it's a B minus signing. He's not going to have a lot of impact on the field, but I think a reasonable individual that can, I think, be a nice role player. You can never have enough depth at corner as well. So also too, there's a lot of value, I think, in stealing some information from the Eagles, learning, hey, what did they do to make, Cooper DeJean awesome? What did they make to make Quinyon Mitchell awesome? Those are great tidbits that Terry Arnold and DJ Reed and Avante Maddox can, and Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw can all learn together and grow that room. So I think it's a great, solid depth signing and one that can pay off a lot of ways. No doubt.
Doc, I'm gonna throw a couple of these out here real quick for you. Some of these questions. Our guy Caleb asked you this.
Joe.
What do you think about Joe, AL Rookie of the Year, plus 750? I will say, too, I'll throw it out there. I think Riley Green's line is 20.5, 21.5. I took it. Caleb said, Booner, you should take this. I'm on it for the year.
Nice. Okay, here we go. Now, as we always say, we preface it. Please gamble responsibly. This is for entertainment purposes only. Mr. Caleb, the fine broadcaster on Saturdays, I always check in, has a question about gambling. So please take this with a grain of salt. Please don't gamble more than your means. But I would say this. I would, if you're prone to love value bets, I would sprinkle a little bit on I would spread 1 unit on Joe for AL Rookie of the Year, but I would go heavy. All right. Doc's play of the day on Wednesday is over. Spread 3-4 units on over 83.5 games for the Tigers. I think they're over the win total. I think people are underplaying the offense, what they can accomplish. I think AJ Hinch is going to develop a lot of the pitchers. I think people are a little bit anxious that they didn't add the big bat, but sprinkle 3-4 units on the over 83.5, and you'll thank the doc in when's the season over? In October. So remember, 3-4 units on the over, and you'll thank the doc. That's the doc's tip of the day.
Oh my! He said the doc's tip. Well, Doc, we appreciate you as always. You know what? Enjoy your vacation. Although we appreciate you just always talking ball and wanting to support the fellas and always giving you here every single week. You deserve a vacation. We're the hardest working dudes in the industry. So enjoy yourselves. Have fun, let loose. Because when you get back here, you're gonna miss the weather. But we appreciate you, Doc, as always.
No worries. And remember, just the tip. Gamble responsibly. Have a good time. Be fair. And I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Deuces.
Wow, what an exit.
Appreciate you, Doc. Enjoy Orlando. Let's go, the Doc, man.
What did he say at the end there? You hear that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
What did he say?
I mean, you just got to be. I don't want to repeat that. You just got to be. No, I mean, he said just the tip. That's what he.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. I don't know what that meant. I just let that one slide. No ditty. That's
incredible. All right. Hey, drop some questions and we'll get to them. Caleb already chimed in. He says I have him at 82 and 80.
Can we talk about the Tigers real quick?
Yeah.
We didn't get to talk about them earlier. I would like to I have an opinion. Caleb's in the chat, so he'll be able to hear it. Me and Caleb are talking a little Tigers today.
What's this opinion?
The things that have happened today.
Okay.
The whole keystone. What was it? The keystone? Did they call it?
Yeah.
Getting removed, or the keyhole? The keyhole getting removed. The beautiful Tiger sign getting replaced with the Comerica sign. And Doc mentioned it and brought it up. Jeff, and I don't know if you saw this. I think they call it the Home Plate Club now.
Mm-hmm.
Where they completely took out the seats from behind home plate. They added in these new seats that are like, Jeff, they're like heated. They're cooling seats. I mean, they might turn into a transformer for all I know. I don't know. The prices that they're charging for these seats, these things should be able to wipe my butt for me after I poop.
It's like a bidet on there.
Something. And listen,
all right.
I did the math. They said it's $100,000 for the season for 2 tickets, right? Jeff, it's $1,200 a game for 2 seats. That's over $600 a game for a seat. Now, they took those people who originally had those seats. I don't know where they moved them, what they did with them.
Right.
But those were seats, Jeff Iafrate, that were like someone like me and you. Like if there was like, hey, we know someone, or hey, we're able to go sit. That when you watch a national televised, not even a national televised game, now this year on FanDuel TV, you tune in, those seats are typically full of fans, right? Like diehard fans, season ticket holders. You're about to turn Detroit Tigers games on now. And if it's on ESPN or whatever MLB network, it's going to look empty in the stadium. Because who's going to buy a $1,200 ticket in any game? Like even the Dodgers, like you're sitting there, you're like, dude, that's so much money. Like that's a lot of money. And this is where my problem lies. And I'm going to be very transparent with you. And I haven't heard anyone bring this up. But why in the world, Jeff, does Chris Ilitch refuse to spend money on bringing in batters and bringing in players? Refuses. Didn't even give Tarek Skubal, the best player you've had since probably Justin Verlander, didn't even give him a full extension. didn't even want to pay him fully. He refuses to spend money. But you know what he'll do, Jeff Iafrate? He will rob Detroit Tigers fans. Rob them. And in broad daylight, he will rob them. He is putting a gun to every single Tigers fan's head and saying, give me money. Oh, you know what? Oh, one of everyone's favorite things at the ballpark, the beautiful Tigers sign that means a bunch to people that watch the game. You look up at the scoreboard, you see the Tigers sign. Oh, you know what? Hey, you know what? I know we're not spending money on players, but we need more money. I want more money in my pocket, so I'm going to go switch that, and I'm going to get more money from Comerica and throw a sign up because I want more money. Oh, wait a second. The seats behind home plate? Oh, we went on a magical playoff run. Let's rob the fans. Let's charge $100,000 for these seats that no one's going to buy because I want more money. Like, I want to take advantage of the playoff run and screw the people over. My problem is, where is this money going? Why are you upgrading these seats and charging people this much money? Why are you changing advertising and putting more ad signs up in the park and ruining the ballpark for more money? But you're not even spending the money for the fans. You're not even giving your best player money. Like, where does that make sense to you? Where is the money going? Like, really? You're not even, the money's not going towards the wings. It's not going towards bringing players in. Where is this money going? Like, you're robbing Tigers fans in broad daylight, and you're not using the money to bring in more players. That's crazy. It's insane.
The problem is, and two people already said this, and I agree with it, the money's going in his pockets. Like, we already know Chris Ilitch.
It's ridiculous.
He is the antithesis of his father. Okay, he is not Mike Ilitch in terms of his financial friendliness. Okay, and Doc put it perfectly. It's the difference between the working class. It's, you know, now the normal working class people are looking at this as corporate America here. Okay, this is Chris Ilitch, like you said, trying to rob people of, you know, and this, my biggest problem with it is this, right? Like, okay, if I have the money to spend, if I have $100,000 just chilling, okay, what's the return on the investment? What am I getting? What have you done for me to be open to paying that? Are you the Dodgers? Like, if I got that type of seat to see that, it's different.
Exactly.
It's like the Lions can start implementing, you know, like what the Raiders do where they added like hot tubs in their it's like all this stuff.
Yeah.
The Lions can start. It's like, yeah, I'm watching the Detroit Lions. The Tigers, although they'll be above 500, they'll be a playoff team. They, you know, it'll be fun. It'll be a fun year. They're not at that point where you can just rob fans like this and start charging $100,000. You haven't earned it. The return on my investment as someone who has $100,000 laying around, which is not a lot of people that I know, it's ridiculous. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It makes it so, to your point, it's dumb. You're not there. You can't, the Tigers right now and what they've been with cheap ownership. And again, like you said, where's this money going? If, let's say people do spend and buy and you make all this extra cash, where's it going? I mean,
that's my biggest problem.
Yeah. That's like, that's
and I haven't heard anyone around the city mention it. Like, obviously I've heard people in 97 when everyone's having these conversations about like, hey, it's stupid that the keyholes are getting removed. It's dumb that you're changing the sign. The home run or the home plate club, like that's what are we doing here? Like, I agree with all of that. That's stupid. Let's go a step further. You're trying to make all of this money because you went on a playoff run. Why aren't you spending the money? I don't understand it. It doesn't add up to me. It truly doesn't. Now, if you were going out there and spending all this money on these big free agents and you're throwing money around and you have the roster and you just went on this run and you brought in 2 or 3 players that people are like, oh, hey, the Tigers are a real deal. They mean business. They want to win a World Series. And then you add the home run club and you make those, okay, I can deal with it because fans are spending more money and the investment, as you say, Jeff, it's being put to use. Like,
Yeah.
they're out there and they're getting
Yeah.
players here. And yes, I think they have a good team. I think they're going to win 80+ games. I think Caleb said 81. I think they get over 85. Like, I think this is going to be a team that will win their division. But you could be a World Series contender. Like, you could. And then if you went out and spent money, you're at that level all of a sudden. And they didn't do it. And Chris Ilitch refused to do it. Whether it's Scott Harris being like, oh, we love our young guys, we don't want to take away from their development. No. It comes down to, does Chris Ilitch does he want to fork over the money, right? Like, and obviously he doesn't, but I think it's extra, what is it? He's stepping on the wound of Tigers fans being like, hey, oh, by the way, I know we didn't spend a lot of money this offseason. We gave an extension to our best player, didn't give him a long-term deal. But you know what we're going to do, boys? Hey, we're going to go sell more ads in the best spots around the park, because I don't know what it is, man. I just don't have enough money in my pockets. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to create this awesome club that's going to be one of the most exclusive clubs in Detroit. And normal fans won't be able to sit there. Real Tigers fans won't be able to afford it. And we're just going to have it empty, or just the richest people in Detroit can show up for it. And we're just going to ruin the home field atmosphere. And on top of that, we're going to charge $100,000 for it. And guess what? When we get that money, yeah, you think we're going to get players with that money? I fooled yourself. Like,
no, it's
so disrespectful, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you're a millionaire and you think Chris Ilitch is, going to use the money, if you're dropping a bunch of cash on premium seats, like exclusive club-esque seats,
so much money.
You'd be like
a normal fan.
You'd get a feel like you're kind of especially in the NIL era, like a college donor. You'd be like, you know what? I'm giving this dude 100 bands, and at least we're gonna get something out of it. It's like, no, dude.
You didn't hear, Jeff? You get free parking. There's an entrance. No,
and a free glizzy. You get a free glizzy with it.
You get free food, and the best of it, dude. You get your own entrance. Probably like a side door in Comerica that looks like an emergency exit. You get to walk in, and then it's like, oh wow, a creepy hallway to the club seats.
Well, and you get to watch this high-powered offense, right? Like
the best batters in all of baseball.
That was a little bit of a stray. I didn't mean that.
Maybe a couple times a year.
Caleb would agree with that. Caleb would agree with that. It's like,
it's very disappointing, because, like, listen, I've sat behind home plate. I remember I went in high school, sat behind. I'll never be able to sit back there again because there's this stupid club. I mean, maybe we get invited one day, Jeff, by someone we know. That'd be sick. I'm sure.
If they got a bidet,
I'm sure there's a chance. The seats, I mean, they're heated, they're cooling.
Yeah,
you can go to the bathroom in them. Have you ever seen Mr. Deeds? They have like water fountains. You walk around, there's like Hawaiian punch water fountains. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You're separated from the peasants around you. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, awesome job, Chris Ilitch. Way to go.
Someone said Scooble dropped a letter on the Tigers page. I wonder if he's addressing this.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if he's addressing that, or
no, he's talking about how he's fired up. He's gonna. I mean. Yeah, he's coming back, and he's gonna get paid. And Tigers aren't.
I hate that. Why would they do that? It looks like it's like a letter of him leaving Detroit.
Yeah, I'd cry. I would actually.
Something about right now this organization.
Maybe that's where the seats could go. It's like a Scooble fund. Could we do that? Like
something.
Scooble fund.
I love that idea. I'm going to tweet that out, I think.
The Scooble fund. Oh, I love it. Hey, great show today. Appreciate everyone. As always, get your merchandise, officialcdsports.com. It's all available. You guys have been supportive. Been amazing. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday. Be a great show. Shout out to the doc for joining as well. It's always a good time. But until then, by the way, Klotz had to leave. He's not feeling well. So that's why he left. If you just noticed, he disappeared. He's under the weather, man. So he tried to go today. He was questionable. He played some snaps. Wasn't ready to go. So,
hey, Chris Ilitch, maybe spend some money. Hey, maybe stop robbing your fans in broad daylight.
All right. We'll get out of here. Appreciate you all.
Love you guys.
Peace.